Season 2 of The War Within is right around the corner, and with that, it comes Undermine, this new zone. But more importantly, at least for me, and hopefully for you, because you're watching the video that two new delves. We're getting 2 brand new delves, and we also are getting a whole slew of new story scenarios for all of the existing delves. The only one that's not getting any currently on the PTR is Mycomancer Cavern in Hallowfall. Earthcrawl Mines is actually getting 2 new story scenarios, all to do with the story of Undermine, and then there's one that I'm very, very excited about. But today, I really want to talk about the 2 brand new delves that are coming in The War Within Season 2. These are both on PTR, and they've both been testable. I was only able to do 2 of the 3 existing story scenarios for both the Excavation 9 delve, as well as the Side Street Sluice. Sluice? I think that's how you say that word. So let's go ahead and get into my thoughts and first impressions on these brand new delves. Welcome to Mistledine.
Wow.
I do delves in pretty much anything else that I want to talk about in World of Warcraft, so definitely subscribe. And because I have a whole bunch of delve stuff that I want to talk about. In fact, let me know as well, what are you looking forward to in Season 2 about delves in particular? I like delves. I really like delves. So let's get into my first impressions, at least so far. I'm going to start with Excavation 9 because that was the first one that I did. And in fact, the one that I did was the story scenario called Black Blood Prophets. So a lot of this is kind of based on the story that we're getting in 11.1 and the Undermine itself, and the idea that goblins, specifically the Dark Fuse cartel, have been extracting black blood for some nefarious purpose. We don't know exactly what yet. So Black Blood Prophets was the first story that I did, and it's basically you go around this beautiful looking delve. It's the one with all of the old god stuff that looks like it's destroying the Titan constructs. I think that's important. We'll get into that. Basically, there's all these excavators that are going to be all strewn throughout the delve that you defend, basically 3 waves of enemies, each excavator that you activate. And then once you're done, you defeat all the enemies, you pick up these canisters for percentage. You're basically just filling the bar, but you go around and then you meet up with the goblin that asked you to do this. And he gets a little bit spicy, a little bit corrupted. You have to take him down. That boss fight, super, super easy. Maybe a little bit more could be done with it. I really didn't have an issue. Here's the thing about delves on the PTR in general. There was a bunch of bugginess when I first started. I don't want to really say bugginess because it's nothing to do with the delves themselves. It's more like the system of delves. My character didn't have I couldn't assign Bran a combat role at all. I couldn't give him any curios. There's no curios there. They set your item level to whatever they're using for testing for that delve level. So the delve that I did the Black Blood Prophets on, I did it at level 4, and it set my item level to like 558. There were some enemies that were absolutely brutal. There's like this big slither snake guy that does a vampire bite that can only be stunned. It cannot be interrupted or anything, but it does so much damage that it can heal the slither guy up so much. So Blizzard needs to definitely take a look at that because that was a pain in the butt. I had to really coordinate my stuns to make sure I could do enough damage to kill this thing before it would do too many vampire bites and I just couldn't keep up with it anymore. So that was an interesting thing. Okay, so important for the explanation of these mobs that I had to fight, there's this new system thing for chest, the way that the chest works in a delves, the rewards that you get, which I'll talk about in a future video more in depth. But basically, it's called the Nemesis chest, and you have to defeat minions of the Nemesis in any delve to be able to upgrade the quality of that chest. So you can skip those packs if you want in the delve, and they're like really hard enemies. I really like how they've done this. It's like the mini bosses from Season 1, except you can skip them if you don't want a better reward, but they're introduced as early as, I think I saw them in tier 4s. So right when you hit level cap, right when you're level 80 and you can finally do level 4 delves, I was able to deal with these mobs. The problem was I got to ones called the Hobgoblins, and they rocked me. Like they were each meleeing for like 1.5 million damage, and mind you, I was at 558 item level with basically no brand. So those were really difficult. I actually had to leave the delve and reset until they were in a position where I didn't have to fight them, or it just gave me a different mob. So I didn't have to fight the pack of hobgoblins in Black Blood Prophet, which was really, really cool. The end boss was pretty easy. Like I said, not pretty simple mechanics. The problem was the door was busted. So when I finally finished the delve, I couldn't actually, you know, finish the delve and collect the rewards and see what was inside, because the door just wouldn't open for me. So again, a little bit of PTR stuff. Aesthetically, this is an incredible delve with some really interesting mob variety. You don't have a ton of mobs, but they're different from all of the mobs that we have been fighting so far in the War Within, and I think that's pretty cool. I was reminded of Nyalotha and the Black Empire invasion stuff that was happening during BFA, the end of BFA, in a good way, friends, in a good way. I want to talk a little bit more about the delve overall before getting into its second story scenario that I was able to test. I have not been able to test its third story scenario yet. The delve itself is just stunningly beautiful. It's really cool to go around. One of the things that is so true for both this delve, the Excavation 9, and the side street sluice delve, is that the routing that you can do in both of them is up to you, it feels like. Like there's no, a lot of the other delves, you just kind of have to hold W and walk through and do it. These other delves allow for a little bit more exploration, a little more like, let me deal with this objective here because this is a better place for me to do this objective. My cooldowns are up, whatever the case may be. This is so cool, especially in Excavation 9. There is so much you can do. There's so many mobs you can skip. There's so many areas you can like go up on a hill and go around everything to get to maybe this excavator that you need. And while that's all happening, it's got these beautiful purple tones and orange tones, and I'm a big fan of that. And it's gorgeous. There's also some like environmental storytelling that's happening, where it almost looks like the old god corruption stuff is attacking the Titan construct statues. Like just the statues, they're not, as far as we know anyways, they're not, you know, alive or any, they're just monuments to the Titans. And it literally looks like the black blood has attacked these statues. The only thing I wish is that there was actual lore that I could read, little notes, maybe little goblin things of things they learned while they were doing this, or you know, maybe whispers they've been hearing while they're here, because obviously this is a very, very old god corrupted area. I do wish there was a little bit more, and like I said, very early PTR. This is like the very first days of PTR, so we could get something like that, and I sincerely hope we do. So the second story scenario that I did was called Rowdy Riffs, and first and foremost, the biggest thing I have to say about it, the sound effect on the actual riffs, I don't know if that's new, but like hearing it on this was gnarly. It is very unsettling when you're closing these riffs. So you walk in and there's no story actually attached to this one. There was no NPC or something that was like, hey, I need your help. There was nothing, no setup really. It was just like rifts have appeared in this area and we need to close them. It does one of those things that some of the delves do where it reverses where you are. So you use a rift right at the beginning of the delve in this story scenario, and it puts you at the very end of the delve, and then you work your way backwards through the delve, so that your final boss is actually at the front where you normally would start, I'm assuming, all of the other story scenarios. So that was kind of cool, being able to like do it backwards. Enemy variety again was really cool in Rowdy Riffs. There's like these big dark abyss mobs or something that will be around that will do like this channeling effect. And then there's like these little void clouds all over going through the ground. And if you get too close to them, a void tentacle will come up and you'll just have to deal with a void tentacle that also will cast things. So you can easily skip those and run from them if you want. But really the the objective was super fast, super easy. Again, you can route any way you want through this delve and skip so much. If a pack is like, oh, I don't want to deal with that pack, you just run around it. You don't have to deal with it at all, which is really nice for delves, especially some of these like casters and whatnot. I didn't notice there being a ton of casts that were shrekking me like I did with the Nerubian stuff. The final boss was actually really neat as well. Something I will say is I finally was able to get Bran going as a tank for this one. No curios or anything, no curios, and I don't know if all of his abilities are working yet or not. But I did go with a tank Bran, and he is too good, which was my fear. I'll save that for another video, but he's too good. The thing with the final boss though, that's actually kind of cool is if you use Bran as a tank all the time, for this specific story scenario and another one that I'll talk about, you might actually want to switch off of that, of him tanking. Because the boss does a thing where it fixates on you and it does like 500% increased damage, but its movement is way reduced. So you can just kite it and not get hit by it. The problem is, if Bran is the tank, Bran doesn't know to kite it, so he just gets smacked and dies, and then it comes over to you, and then so you can there's some fun stuff maybe with how you actually will spec Bran. But I really like that boss. I feel like we haven't had one like that where it's like this thing will kill you if it touches you, but it's super easy to get away from, and I think that's kind of fun. Moving on, we have our second and final brand new delve of the Season 2 11.1 Undermined update, and that is Side Street Sluice, which reminds me of a level from Jak and Daxter or Sly Cooper, and I love it. It is dope. It is so cool. This delve is, like I was talking about routing with Excavation 9, this is a very similar one. It's actually a very small delve. It's a tiny delve, but there's so much verticality to it. So it kind of like goes around itself, but then there's the verticality, so you can go from the very top of it to the bottom, and from the bottom to the top, and like run around that way. And it really does feel like a classic level out of Jak and Daxter, maybe even like Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. You know the one. It's fantastic. It's really cool. The story I don't really know about yet. Again, that's probably like my biggest criticisms with this is the delves themselves are amazing, but I want to know more of like why I'm there. The first delve that I was able to do, the first story scenario in Side Street Sluice was one called Mr. Delver, which is going to be the best delve to do for an 8 if you're pushing that early on in the season, or finally your 11 to get the new gilded crest that they're offering. Mr. Delver, if that is up, is going to be go do it. It's go do it. So I love this delve. It's very small, lots of verticality. Enemy variety is super refreshing. There are so many different enemies. Not in the delve, because the delve really only has like 3 or 4 different types of enemies, but they're so different than everything we've been fighting so far that I'm just a big fan. I think I'm like, what are these doing? Who are these guys? And some of the big like hobgoblin guys have really cool designs. I'm a big fan. And then there's like the little robot goblin guys that are also very neat. It's very good because of the robot that you get. The idea with Mr. Delver is that they're trying to create a robot explorer, a robot delver, somebody that will delve for you instead, like a goblin robot that will go and do all of the exploration, and basically it's malfunctioning. There's like some issues with it, so you have to there's these electric generators that are blocking your way. Again, very Sly Coopery. You got to figure out a way to turn off the generator, but near those generators is a robot that you need to take control of, one of the delvers, and then you use them to shut off the thing. But you can also, there's another move you can use that stuns the enemies and also increases the damage they take by 25%. So again, very good for pushing delves early on in the season, for sure. It's very good. The last boss, though, of the Mr. Delver Side Street Sluice is busted. It's absolutely busted. I think that some tuning changes will have to happen to that. The boss basically just keeps summoning these robots that they seek and destroy, so they'll run up to you and just explode for almost all of your health. And this was me as a tank. Again, level tier 8, they set me to 600 item level, so I don't know I don't know. I don't know why you'd be doing a tier 8 in season 2 at 600 item level, but that's what they did for testing, so I'm unsure how that's going to work, and I will definitely let people know, update the comments, all that jazz, on what they actually expect you to be for these. But that boss, I think, is going to have to be looked at, because if you're like a ranged DPS that can't move while attacking, you're going to have a really hard time. So I think that's going to be changed. And finally, we have the second story scenario I was able to test for Side Street Sleuths. I was not able to test the other 3 yet before this video had to come up, so I will, or the other two story scenarios. I haven't, but I will include those in a little update video for those story scenarios. The final story that I was able to do is called Teleporter Tantrums. You teleport around. There's these like basically jump pads you use to get around, and then you also have an extra action button that will allow you to teleport back to where you picked it up at, which is interesting, but again, one of those situations where I'm not really sure why. Like, I don't know at all what the story was of this one in particular, and I'm a story guy. I want to know why I'm doing stuff. There is so much to skip. Again, the routing is, I cannot stress enough how good the routing is. You can skip so much. You can tackle the delve however you feel you want to. If you're on a mage and you're really squishy or something and you want to avoid these big packs, but you know you can focus down this one dude real quick, like, you can do that. There are ways that you can navigate this delve to get around. It's awesome. It's super cool. That's true for both of the delves. Lots to skip. Definitely wish more story was involved. The last boss on this one is also busted, but in a very different way. So this is another situation where having Bran as a tank, you would actually want to switch off, at least the way that Bran currently works, because the boss will put down, it does this like cannon attack that puts a huge healing absorb on you if you're hit by this, and it puts a ground effect as well. So if you're standing in the ground effect with this healing absorb, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. You're not going to be able to heal it off. The big thing about Bran is he gets empowered when he gets healed, but Bran doesn't know to get out of it. So he gets hit by this cannon, gets a monster healing absorb put on him, and then just stands there and dies. So Bran as a tank for this boss is also something that potentially you would want to completely swap off of. And I think that's actually really neat. I think that's really cool. Potentially, I don't know if you can, maybe you can switch his specialization in the middle of the delve. So this way you're dealing with everything, and then when you get to the boss, you're doing DPS or healing Bran. Might actually be really neat. I don't know. Maybe that's something that they're playing with, is having you engage with Bran in a totally different way than we did in season 1. And I'm into that. Oh, by the way, Bran can switch hats. I don't know how yet or why, but he was, and that's amazing. There's definitely lots to learn in these delves. There's lots to learn with Bran, but I will say that these 2 delves feel a little bit more accessible than some of the delves that we got in season 1. There were definitely clear winners and clear losers when it comes to season 1 delves, different story scenarios, but mostly delves themselves, the layout of them, the way that you traverse them, the routing that you could do of like, I don't want to deal with this, but I need to do this objective. And I think that's really, really good going forward with these. Like I said, almost every delve in the game got a new story scenario as well, and I cannot wait to test them. A lot of them have to do with the new Dark Fuse cartel that is being introduced in 11.1, and it's the first week, so there's a lot of changes that can be made, but my time in it was great. I was able to clear 8s with the testing level of 600, and with Bran being barely functional and no curios. So I'm excited to see more curios. I'm excited to see how Bran works. Anyways, I'll save that for a future video. Let me know what you want to see from season 2, 11.1 PTR stuff, specifically delves. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, come on. YouTube thinks you're going to want to watch this one. That's what YouTube thinks you're going to watch. You can also subscribe by hitting this thing over here. And I'll see y'all in either the daily delve or the next PTR delve video. Never give up, never surrender. I love you. Goodbye.